Welcome to this deep dive where we pull out the key ideas from various sources.
Great to be here.
So today we're looking into how grandparenting is, well, changing, how they're connecting across generations.
Yeah, it's really evolving. A lot different than maybe what people picture.
I think so too.
Yeah.
It probably hits home for a lot of listeners seeing these shifts in their own families.
hmm And we've been digging into this text, The Secret Life of Modern Grandparents, Bridging the Generational Divide. Some really fascinating stuff in there.
Exactly. So that's our mission for this deep dive, right? To sort of unpack that evolution.
Yep. Look at the big shifts, maybe some surprising trends.
Expert insights,
Yeah,
and maybe, some practical tips for people wanting to strengthen those family bonds.
sounds good.
Okay, so let's just dive in. What's the core change, this new role?
Well, the big thing seems to be a shift away from maybe a more traditional, sometimes more hands-off role
Hmm.
towards something much more active, more involved. The text really hammers this home.
How involved are we talking?
Well, get this. It mentions a figure. Something like nearly 70% of grandparents are doing some kind of caregiving.
70%. Wow.
Yeah. Full-time, part-time, but actively involved in care. It really shows a deep commitment.
That's huge. That's way beyond just, weekend visits or holiday dinners. It's like the really integrated.
Absolutely. And it's not just the care aspect either. The source points out they're often mentors now,
Mentors. How so?
sharing life experience, wisdom. They're also the keepers of family history, helping grandkids understand where they come from.
That connection to the past.
Right. And, kind of funny, the text even mentions them becoming tech troubleshooters.
Seriously.
Yeah.
Grandparents fixing Wi-Fi.
Or helping with a tablet. Yeah. It's a surprising way they're bridging that gap.
That really paints a picture, doesn't it?
Oh,
Adapting, connecting, not just being stuck in the past.
exactly. They're navigating the present right alongside their grandkids.
And the text connects this to wider changes in society, right? Like family structures.
It does. With more diverse families, more multi-generational homes popping up, there's often more need, but also more opportunity for grandparents to be this involved.
Makes sense. Now, the text also mentions some key figures in understanding all this.
Yes, right. First, there's Dr. Arthur Kornhaber. He's sometimes called the grandparent guru.
Okay, what's his main idea?
His research, according to the source, really zeroes in on the emotional bond, how crucial that connection between grandparent and grandchild is.
Crucial for what specifically?
Well, not just feeling good, but actually for the child's emotional and social development. His work suggests that intergenerational love, that support, it's fundamental, a building block.
So it's deeper than just practical help. It has a real developmental impact.
That's the idea presented, yeah.
And who else? There was another name. Bosak.
Susan Bosak, yes. Her book, How to Build the Grandma Connection, takes a more practical angle.
Okay, more hands-on.
Exactly. The text uses her work to talk about how grandparents can actively build and maintain those strong connections. Real-world advice on staying relevant, staying connected. It's about being intentional.
Intentionality. That seems key. Okay, so beyond the experts, what about some of those surprising trends the text uncovered?
Yeah.
How is this bridging actually happening day to day?
Okay, yeah, this is pretty interesting. The source talks a lot about grandparents getting onto social media,
Yeah.
Instagram, even TikTok.
Grandparents on TikTok. Seriously?
Yep. It sounds a bit wild, but the text says they're using it to connect with grandkids, see what they're up to, share their own stuff. Some apparently even get a little following online.
Wow. That's adapting. It's like learning the grandkids' language to stay connected.
Totally. Meeting them in their digital space, right.
Yeah.
It opens up new ways to bond, sharing funny videos, commenting. It closes that, digital native gap a bit.
Fascinating. What other maybe unexpected shifts did the text mention?
Another big one is something the text calls grandparent travel.
Grandparent travel, like holidays.
Sort of, but the focus is different. Instead of just buying gifts, grandparents are prioritizing taking grandkids on trips, creating shared experiences.
Oh, I like that. Experiences over stuff.
Exactly. It could be a local museum trip or a bigger vacation. The text emphasizes this idea of experiential learning, making memories together, building that shared history.
That feels really positive. So thinking about listeners who might be grandparents or maybe grandkids wanting to connect better, what practical advice does the source offer?
Okay, several key things came up. First, and maybe obviously now, is embracing technology.
Right, the TikTok connection.
Yeah, but also video calls, messaging apps, just being comfortable with the tools the grandkids use, especially important if there's distance involved.
Makes total sense. You got to meet them where they are, digitally speaking. What else?
Creating shared experiences. We mentioned travel, but it doesn't have to be big.
Like what?
Planning regular things you both enjoy. A trip to the zoo, maybe working on a hobby together, going to a game. Just consistent shared time. That builds the bond.
Simple stuff, but doing it regularly. Got it. And I bet just listening is important too.
Absolutely crucial. The text really highlights being an empathetic listener. Kids often need someone trusted outside their parents to talk to. Just offering that non-judgmental ear, giving advice if they ask for it, that can be huge.
That grandparent wisdom, right?
Mhm.
And what about family stories? Does the text mention that?
Oh, yeah, big time.
Yeah.
Sharing personal anecdotes, family history, traditions. It's not just entertainment. It gives grandkids a sense of identity, of belonging,
Yeah.
connects them to something bigger.
Yeah. Those stories really weave the family fabric together. Anything else practical?
One more for the grandparents themselves. Stay active.
Physically active.
Yeah. Good for their own health, obviously, but it also sets a great example. And,
Yeah.
it makes it easier to join in on activities, go on adventures together.
Good point. Okay, those all seem really solid. Did the text offer any slightly more unconventional ideas
Mm-hmm.
outside the box, maybe?
It did have a couple of neat ones. One was starting a long-term family project together.
A project. Like what?
Could be anything, really. Making a scrapbook, planting a garden together, maybe researching family history, writing down family recipes in a shared book.
Oh, the cookbook idea is great. I love that.
Yeah. Something you build together over time. It fosters teamwork, creates something lasting.
Cool. What was the other one?
Learning together, the text suggested taking a class together.
A class. Like grandparent and grandchild.
Yeah. Cooking, painting, maybe learning a language, even something like coding.
Going with grandma. That's amazing.
Right. It kind of flips the script on who's the teacher, who's the learner. Just a rewarding shared experience, learning side by side.
That really emphasizes learning as a lifelong shared thing.
Fantastic. Okay, so if we boil all this down,
Mhm.
what's the main takeaway message about modern grandparenting?
I think it's really about adaptation,
Hmm.
recognizing that the core love, the connection, that's constant. But the way you grandparent, that needs to adapt to the times, embracing the new ways to connect.
Exactly. Using tech, seeking out those shared experiences, just being actively present. That's how you bridge the gaps and really enrich grandkids' lives today.
So it's a really dynamic role now. Lots of potential there.
Definitely. The text makes it clear how vital these relationships still are, maybe even more so in our fast-paced world.
Well, as we wrap up this deep dive into modern grandparents, maybe just a final thought to leave with everyone.
Yeah.
Reflect on that mix, the love, the wisdom, but also that crucial willingness to adapt. It's pretty powerful.
It really is.
And maybe consider this question. In our world today, with all the changes, what really unique, maybe unexpected ways can different generations in a family actually learn from each other?
That's a good one to chew on.